Invasion of the pythons. Introduction. Slogging through ankle-deep water in the Florida Everglades, the scientists approach their target. Suddenly, one of the team pounces and grabs the tail of a huge snake. Another researcher lunges and grabs the snake behind its head. Others quickly join the wrestling match between humans and the 16-foot, 150-pound Burmese python. The python finally tires, and they haul it back to the lab for study. The scientists win this time. A bigger battle is underway. Though because Burmese pythons aren't ever even supposed to be in Florida, these large snakes are native to the jungle and marshy grasslands of India and other parts in South Asia. What are they doing in Florida? Who invited that guy? For millions of years, the movement of animals and plants was limited by natural barriers. Mountain ranges and deserts separated habitats so species could not spread. Oceans were especially difficult to cross. That challenged as transportation improved. By the 1800s, many people moved to new lands, bringing familiar livestock and plant seeds with them. Some animals, rats, lizards, dogs, and cats, crawled onto ships and were carried across the sea. Today, people move farther and faster than ever before, whether by human design or by accident. Other species move as well. In their native lands, species usually have competition and predators to keep their numbers in check. If their new home lacks these challenges, a new species may multiply and take over, thereby becoming an invasion species. Kudzu vines from Japan, for example, have choked out other plants in the southeastern United States. On the island of Guma, the brown tree snake has wiped out much of the bird population. As other native species lose a familiar source of food or shelter, the entire ecosystem can suffer. No one knows for sure how Burmese pythons got into the Everglades ecosystem. The first invaders may have escaped from Florida pet shops, or maybe some pet owners released their pythons as they grew too big to take care of. Once the snakes got loose, they thrived in the heat and humidity. Hiding in the tangled underbrush and gobbling up other animals, the invasion of the pythons was underway. Threats by the thousands. The first Burmese python was reported in the Everglades in 1979. Another 16 years passed before the next one was found since 2000, though python reports have grown more and more common. When a nest of python eggs was discovered, it confirmed that what wildlife biologists feared, Burmese pythons were breeding in the wild. Pythons reproduce rapidly. Females usually lay more than 50 eggs a year, and within 3 years of hatching, young pythons themselves are ready to breed. The result in the Everglades have been a population explosion as year after year, more pythons lay eggs and more pythons survive. Pythons hatch from their eggs, ready to slither away and start eating and growing. Researching adult size is only 4 years. Burmese pythons average about 12 feet in length, but the largest may stretch more than 20 feet and top 200 pounds. Creepy to some, beautiful to others, the way Burmese pythons kill and the stuff of nightmares. Pythons belong to a class of snakes called constrictors. These snakes track down live animals using their sense of smell and ability to sense heat. They then surprise their prey, latching on with a broad mouth lined with sharp teeth. Once the animal is caught, the python coils its muscular body around it and squeezes until its victim suffocates. Finally, the snake swallows its prey whole, stretching its jaws to gulp down animals as much as 5 times larger than its own head. Scientists have yet to get a true count on how many pythons live in the Everglades today. They estimate the python population to be anywhere between 5,000 and 100,000. In 2012, researchers captured the biggest Burmese python found so far in the Everglades. She was 17 feet 7 inches long, and inside her was 87 eggs ready for laying. An Everglades nightmare. The Everglades, nicknamed the River of Grass, is one of the most unusual ecosystems in North America. A region of woodlands in southern Florida, it consists mainly of marshes, swamps, and grasslands. Few hills and fewer buildings rise on the flat landscape, but it is rich with plant and animal life and is an important home for many native insects, fish, mammals, and other animals. The American alligator is perhaps the most familiar Everglades native. This slither reptile can grow up to 16 feet long and is a fierce predator. Rarer is the Florida panther. Only a few dozen of these big cats still roam in the wild. The Everglades is also home to many smaller mammals and is a paradise for birds, including the bald eagle, great egret, rosy spoonbill, and many other wading birds. Burmese pythons will gulp down any animal they can catch. In fact, they have been called eating machines. In the Everglades, researchers discovered a python that has killed and swallowed an 80-pound deer. In another case, they found a dead python with a 6-foot alligator in its mouth. The two animals have killed each other in a life-or-death struggle. Word that pythons might wipe up some of Florida's native animals, one research team set out to discover whether this might be the case. In areas with large numbers of these snakes, the researchers studied the populations of small mammals such as marsh rabbits, raccoons, bobcats, and opossums. They looked at animal counts along roadways from 1996 and 1997, before pythons became common, and they examined the same data for more recent years. What the team found was shocking. The population of all these mammals had crashed. There were no signs of marsh rabbits or foxes at all. Yet where pythons were rare or absent. Populations were unchanged. Many scientists think pythons are responsible. Either they ate all these animals or wiped out the smaller animals that are food for bobcats, foxes, and other predators. Vanishing mammals. Scientists compare mammal numbers in Everglades National Park before 2000 with number in 2003 to 2011. With the rise of pythons, native mammal numbers have crashed. Pythons also eat birds in the Everglades. In one study, researchers found that bird make up 25% of a python's death. The feathers and bones are of rare and endangered species, such as the wood stork, have been found in pythons' bellies. How do scientists know what the pythons are eating? In most cases, they do a necropsy, slicing open dead pythons and studying the dead animals they find in their stomachs. The remains have mostly been of mammals, but birds that live in or near water are also at risk of being eaten. Parts of why native animals may be so helpless against pythons is because these snakes are newcomers. Native species have evolved together, adapting to one another in order to coexist. For 16 million years, no snakes in Florida have been big enough to prey on many of these animals. The natives Many may not know how to protect themselves from their young from this invasive predator. What's more, the ecosystem lacks any way to keep the invader in check. Burmese pythons live at the top of the Everglades food chains. Alligators will eat them if they can, but once a python gets big enough, it will even attack alligators. Fighting back. Finding pythons in the Everglades is tough. The landscape makes it easy for pythons to hide, and hard for humans to find them. Burmese pythons may hide in the grass and brush, and they may stay underwater for up to 30 minutes. Still, Florida workers and volunteers are taking action to try to bring pythons under control. At Everglades National Park, they track down and capture the snakes when possible. Almost 2,000 in recent years. Hunters are also allowed to capture the snakes or kill them for their skins and meat. Unfortunately, hunters sometimes mistakenly kill small native snakes, thinking they're baby pythons. One way researchers track pythons is by using radio transmitters. They insert a device into a live snake and release it, and that snake might lead them to other pythons. New laws have been put in place to prevent pythons from joining those in the wild. Still, most experts believe it is already too late to stop the python takeover of Florida. Wildlife biologists today fear that Burmese pythons may invade other parts of the country. They can swim to new territory and survive in most places where winters don't get too cold. Many southern states could be at risk, from South Carolina all the way to California. Scientists continue to investigate the role that pythons play in the changing Everglades ecosystem. Until they learn more, they're careful about putting all the blame on pythons. Still, what we learn about these snake invaders in Florida may keep them from making their way across the country.